Thanks for tuning into our podcast. We love having you here, and it's our mission to bring you all the latest and greatest tips, skills, and know-how to make you the best that you can be. We know that you have it in you, and we're going to show you how. Now, let's get started.
This episode is powered by Poddex.
Thank you for tuning in today. You are now listening to That Will Never Work podcast with your host, Maurice Chisholm.
Hey everybody, how are you? So today we're going to talk about the process of getting this point of school. I have decided that I had wanted to go back to school because, as I stated previously, I wanted to be able to understand what's going on in the business world and be up on the changes. Because there's some things that had to change with the global pandemic, right? Mindset, how to move business forward, no matter what it is, for-profit, non-profit, religious, whatever it is. There's some things that probably had to change. And regardless of how people wanted to get back to how things were previously, the mindset of doing business has to change. You know, understanding what are your fallbacks, what is your game plan, your backup plans, things like that. There are some things that probably need to change. And I wanted to learn that. I wanted to see where things were going. Be on a learning curve, if you will, ahead of the game. And so I had been searching for schools, looking at schools, things like that. And there were a few that I had reached out to. And there was one school that was always kind of lingering, but I did not think I would be able to get in. Because a lot of other schools were not accepting of my previous schooling, or I was too nervous about the cost. I'm going to be honest with you. So I began to sit down and point out the pros and cons of each school, of each university, what their curriculums were, what classes were they offering, what was the culture of the school, understanding if it's benefiting me as an adult learner to be a student at this particular place. So as I continued to look around, try to understand whether or not this was going to fit for me or not, one of the things I realized was I did not want to be in a traditional classroom. I would like to have the opportunity, if need be, to be in a classroom. The options to, when I feel like, hey, you know what, maybe this semester I need to go in class, be in the classroom with some live people for once, versus doing online, things like that. So I did go back and forth with that. And if I'm going to do online, do I want to do in-state, out-state, all those type of things. But then even with that, what were those schools offering for me to achieve what I wanted? So as I evaluated, I understood that I did not want to put in a whole lot of time. If you listen, like there's a recurring theme of just time. But I didn't want to put in a lot of time to travel, if you will, if I went to school out of state. I also didn't want to, and I'm saying that because there were some schools where they were like, all right, if you're going to do school, yeah, you could come and do an intensive week type thing. Did I really want to be away from home for a week? I was like hit or miss with that. And I was like, well, it's probably better for me to stay closer to home. Also, if I have a question or a problem or I need other resources, I would prefer to be able to, at any given time, walk into my institution, if you will, and say, hey, I need help, things like that. And so I applied to quite a few schools. And again, there was one school that I had considered, but because of what I considered their prestige, I didn't think I would be able to get into. How many of you today feel the same way? That when you apply to something, when you're looking at something, that you will not get accepted into the place or position that you are considering. So I had taken a look at this school, mulled it over, trying to understand whether or not I'm going to fit in. Do I have enough to get into school, regardless of what I had done previously, being in honors? I just missed Phi Beta Kappa by a few decimal points, if you will. I was like very, very close. So I did well in school as an adult learner, but I wasn't sure whether or not this school was going to accept me. And more especially because my predecessors, if you will, when they applied for school, it seemed like it was a struggle for them to get in. And so as I'm looking at other adult learners and the schools that they are attending, you don't hear too many of them going to this particular school. Not saying that they can't get into it. I just don't hear about it. Or at least on the level where I am, where I'm just going back to get my bachelor's degree. So I applied, and again, my children encouraged. So I was able to apply. I applied to Temple University, the Fox School of Business. Now, you may ask, well, Maurice, why would you be nervous about it? Well, when my children applied, it appeared to be that they were just getting in by the skin of their teeth. That's what it appeared to be. It took a long time to get it accepted. It was not an easy road for that. I guess when we look back on it, it's like, hey, maybe it had not been as long as we thought it was, but it felt long because of the wait. Now, I applied, and keep in mind, I stated that I had just decided in the spring to go back to school. I applied June the 1st. June the 5th or somewhere around there. I was accepted by June 23rd to Temple University, and then I was accepted into Fox School of Business by the 30th or the 5th, somewhere around there of July. So it did not take very long for me to apply and to get accepted into a school that I did not think I would qualify for. So here's your encouragement for today. Do not be afraid to apply for what you're looking for. I don't care what it is. School, I'm using school for these topics because of this is my latest accomplishment or achievement. But for you, it might not be school. It might be, you really want that other position. Someone is leaving a position. You really like that one. Or you see another position within another company that best suits your ultimate goals and dreams and is closer to home, or whatever the situation is. Do not be afraid to apply, because you will probably get accepted. Thank you very much for listening today.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.